Welcome to Shakin Hands, where we provide the platform for entrepreneurs and thought leaders to share their stories in order to hopefully influence others to get out of the rat race and chase their own dreams. If you have any recommendations for guests or questions that you want to be asked, please don't hesitate to reach out. Anyways, if you enjoy the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share in order to keep the podcast growing. Otherwise, I'm your host, Jack Moran, and this is Shakin Hands. All right, we'll run it back.
We can run it back. All right, so yeah, this is thanks to you. This is my first time in front of the camera ever. Yeah. People have been trying to do it for years, but these lights are bright.
Yeah, no, it's a different beast being on this side.
It is. I'm not nervous. I feel like I'm well equipped after listening to maybe 34 episodes now.
Is that what we're on? Is this 35?
I wish I remembered. They move so quickly now, I can't keep up. But yeah, we're moving.
Well, tell everyone your name, what your business is, what you do.
I am Sam Weinick, and I am the owner of SRW Digital. We are a content creation agency in Charleston, South Carolina, and we handle all things content. So video, photo, podcast production, drone aerial work. We do not mess with the post side of it, so the posting of the content, the social media management side of it. We work with social media management companies, marketing agencies, advertising agencies, and pass them along the content and strategize. But once we create it and pass it off, our hands are off of it.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you get into this business? How did you start your first business? What did the early days look like?
Yeah. If you asked me 13 months ago if I was going to own my own business, I would think you're crazy. Just brutal honesty. I always had a passion and interest in some art form, whether it be like drawing, music, something, right? And I love sports at the same time and being outside and active. I was never a big like video game player. But I never was able to stick to something for so long. I think that was my ADHD mind where I'd like something for a little while and I'd really focus on it, but then I just wouldn't follow through with it for an extended period of time. And then in high school, I had an interest in photography, cameras, tech stuff. And then I went to a high school where lacrosse was its biggest sport. It was known nationally. So I was like, you know what, I have an interest in sports still, have an interest in lacrosse, have an interest in photography. Let me go shoot the games. And I did. That was probably 9 years ago. And went up, just a hobby led to doors opening, opportunities happening. And 9 years later, I now own my own business doing it.
So how did it transition from a hobby into an actual business?
Simply by doing. At first, I had no intention of making money from it, had no intention of getting views from it. It was something that I was just interested in. And I just started filming, posting it on YouTube, made no money from it. And then out of nowhere, probably by my second year of doing it, someone reached out to me on email and said, hey, saw your videos on YouTube, love your work. Would you like to come and intern with me for the summer? And it was a lacrosse media company. And he was like, you want to intern with me? I'll pay you for the 2.5 months over the summer. You get to travel throughout the country, go to lacrosse games. And I was like, yeah, where do I sign? Right. I was like, I can make money from this. It was pretty cool. And then, so I did that, and he kind of just threw me into it and said, you do it. You do everything. You edit it, you shoot it, you travel by yourself. So it was I can't remember how old I was, probably at the time, 18 maybe. I can't remember. But I was doing hotels by myself, traveling, flying, and it taught me a lot of how I can do this on my own, and not just stand on the sideline for a high school team and do it. And then I came to College of Charleston in Charleston, and sports really weren't a big thing here. So I was kind of let the interest die a little bit. I didn't have an interest in working for the school's basketball team. I don't know if it was my issue with being told what to create or how to create it, and all those stipulations. But I kind of just not lost interest, but I focused on school. And then throughout my college career here and there, I just, picked up the camera, did some gigs here and there, met some local people. And then towards the end of college, I was like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life. I was like, is video something I want to do? Everyone's like, you can't make money on it. The money's not there. What are you going to do? You know, man a camera your whole life. So at the time I was like, well, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had always had an interest in law, always like crime, law, politics, just a well-rounded interest. So I started taking classes for my minor in law, and I was like, well, shit, maybe I try law school. And then I was like, I'm not doing 3 more years of school. Like, absolutely not. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it with the camera stuff. So I started applying for jobs in difficult market, and one fell into my lap with a restaurant group, and I was kind of manning all content there, and worked with that for probably a year and a half. And it's been now left there, and it's been about 13 months I've been doing this on my own.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, just to answer your question in short, just by simply doing, doors
Yeah.
opened.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like creatives who would like to make money off their creativity. How have you been able to keep your creative integrity while still answering to clients? And obviously, that comes with it.
You know, at first, when money is like not, I didn't think I could make money. You say yes to everything, right? Any project, you say yes. I was young. If someone said, how much do you charge? I'd say $150 for 5 hours of my time. And I was young and didn't know, but I just wanted to do it. I wanted to learn. The best way to learn by doing this stuff is simply by doing. So I was eager to do everything. I would say yes to everything. Now I have the ability to say no to things, right? That don't align with what I want to do, with where my values are, my interests are, like weddings. Absolutely not. I've never touched a wedding. Don't want to touch a wedding. Don't have any interest in a wedding. Everyone thinks I'm crazy because I'm in like the wedding capital of the country, and there's weddings here every weekend, and they're like easy money, dude. Easy grab. Go get it. Go film a wedding. I just don't care. It's not, the money could be the most money I've ever seen for a single day in my life. I have no interest in it. I'm not going to do it.
Why is it important to prioritize those values over the income?
Because I
Keep those
think,
boundaries.
yeah, I think in the long run, right, if you stay true to that, your opportunities become greater as you move forward in life, right? I could say, yes to a wedding tomorrow, but for the last 6 years, I've told everyone I don't want to do weddings. And I told myself it's something I truly believe in. I don't have an interest in it. So I think, one, I would be lying to myself to kind of buckle my knees and cave in. And the only reason would be because of money. And I don't have an interest in doing that. But I think it's important because, one, it's who you are, right? I'm not trying to contradict everything I've been saying. And then 2, I think the values in which you stand by are what moves you forward in life. And I think when you don't follow your values, your true intentions, who you are as a person, you get lost real quick.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and that's commendable that you have been able to stay true to those values, because a lot of people lose that course and start to lose themselves.
It hasn't always been like that, but more so now. I think people say, what do you enjoy the most about owning your own business and working for yourself and trying to eat, right? I tell them it's fun. Like, that is the one thing that I tell everyone. It's fun. I think it's like, I look at it as like not a competition against other people, but a competition with myself of, if I don't put in that extra time or do this, do X, Y, and Z, that I make no money. I'm not getting a paycheck. I'm not on payroll. So it's like, it's fun, right? To have challenges. Something new comes up every day. I never thought that I would be looking for office space, right? And now dealing with finding an office space that matches what I need it's like a full-time job in itself, right? But who would have ever thought? I wouldn't have thought that, I can man a camera and run a content agency, and then I need an office, right? And then I need, to put an employee behind it to edit it, and I need to give them a space to edit. So something new every day, but I enjoy that. I've enjoyed that since like a kid, just like building and finding solutions. I don't take no lightly. Like, I think there's a solution to anything in the world.
How do you deal with that adversity when like really hard challenges present themselves to you?
It can be hard. Like, I will say I am an anxious person. I will say I like suffer from anxiety in different parts of life. I think everyone does in their own way. So, when things get hard, it really can be difficult if you don't have a true understanding of like yourself and your own emotions and what you're capable of to overcome those challenges and hurdles. But again, going back to your values, like what you believe in, right? I used to be a person that cared so much about what other people thought, whether what I posted, what I did, how I acted. And as I've gotten older, and I think it comes with age, maturity, and especially now owning my own business, I've noticed a change in it. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, it's my life. If you have a problem with it, walk on, like walk away. And obviously, I'm kind to people and compassionate in that way. But if you don't like, if my values don't align with your values, and if you don't, walk away. And I think staying true to who you are and being who you are is the most important thing that helps you get over those hurdles. And sure, I'm a procrastinator, I will say. So when things do get hard and tough, I tend to procrastinate. And ultimately, and that's how I've been ever since I was a young kid in high school and middle school and so forth with schoolwork. I did not like school. And I would just put it off. I wouldn't do it. And then always it comes back to kicking the ass. But I think when things get hard and I put them on the back burner and eventually I have to go after it, I think, it makes sense. You said this a couple episodes ago, the 80-20 rule about Navy SEALs, right? Just get almost all the way there and then just do it, right? Just send it, right? So
Nothing's ever gonna be perfect.
no, not at all. And I think like us as humans, we're never going to be perfect either. Like if we are trying to chase a perfect version of ourselves, we're chasing for eternity. Like we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect as people. And I think Emily Eld, who was on this podcast, said it, and I was thinking about this earlier, like comparison will absolutely break you down and kill you as a person. And being an artist and creating, the constant urge to want to compare my work, myself to other people is, because every time I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it is, I see someone else's work, instant thought of comparing, right?
Yeah.
But like if you just keep comparing and comparing and comparing yourself, all you're doing is affirming to yourself that, you're not perfect when what's perfect, right?
Yeah. I definitely struggle with that. And I see more and more every single day that how toxic social media can be, because you do get that envy and you do start gauging yourself through what's accepted through these social media streams, which, a lot of times I find when I start chasing those external ideas of what success is, it's really it doesn't reflect what is truly me. And then having that incongruence in my life leads me down dark paths.
Yeah.
So
It has comparison is, it's a silent killer, right? I think people don't think of it until it's too late. Or I think it takes a lot of people, I think a lot of people fail to look in the mirror a lot of the time, that issues are their own problems and not someone else's. And when they're constantly comparing themselves to other people, they're putting the blame on other people at the same time and not looking at themselves, which again, you're just simply killing yourself over time. Not figuratively, but.
yeah, you said before that you struggle with a bit of anxiety. How do you deal with that anxiety? I think a lot of people struggle with that, and would be interested to hear how you've been able to get over that. And I don't know if it's medication or you have some alternative.
Yeah. I mean, I have ADHD. Caffeine doesn't help. I'm tweaked out, right? But I've always been on ADHD medicine, Adderall or something like that. And when I was younger, and my whole goal, I never liked it, right? So in high school, I took myself off of it and struggled. School became harder, right? And now learning how to live with out that has been awesome, because it's possible, right? It's all just up here, I think. And then with anxiety, it's the same way, right? Oh, well, how about you try this antidepressant or this medication, right? And I don't necessarily believe in medicating. I think there's other ways possibly around it. I've seen and talked to therapists before of anxiety and what my triggers are and what triggers it. But really, honestly, it's just staying true to who I am, right? Saying to myself. And I mean, those voices are always going to creep in, right? Your anxious thoughts or your voices, am I not good enough? Just anxiety in general. And I honestly think maturity has played a crucial role in managing anxiety and being able to understand myself, right? What are my weaknesses? What am I good at? What are my weaknesses? What are my triggers of my anxiety? And not steering away from those, but like confronting it head on, right? So like I hate public speaking, for example. Do not like it. I get nervous. I stutter. I'll have like attacks. I'll sweat. I do not like public speaking. And I don't have to do public speaking often, right? But it's just finding a way around it, attacking it. I don't like confrontation either. But sometimes, and I get anxious about it, but sometimes it has to be done. And I think anxiety plays a role in how I operate my business as well. I always like, before I send like a proposal out to someone, right? And I'll see a big number on there of how much to charge. And it's standard across all my clients that I charge the same structure, right? But I'm always like, it's a new client. Like all these thoughts go racing in my mind. Like, are they going to say no? Is it going to be too much for them? And simply just by clicking it and just doing it and going for it, I mean, that's my advice. Just do it. Like confront it head on and just do it and overcome, right? It's like people who are afraid of heights, put someone on a tall building and make them look down and eventually they'll like it. Yeah, exactly, right? It's just like you have to confront, you have to be uncomfortable to become comfortable,
Right.
I think.
Yeah, that's where the growth comes from, is those uncomfortable moments and dealing with that adversity and overcoming it. You learn the most in those situations.
100%. Yeah.
So I don't want to go into too deep of a rabbit hole about your psychological conditions. I'll spare you that. But what is like of your services? What is the value to business owners? What is the value of video to business owners? Is the question.
All right. So I will answer this question with knowing that I do not manage social media. And I actually am a really bad user of social media. Not in the way of like, I'm bad about posting my own life on social media, my own business stuff on social media. I'm a huge consumer, but not a poster. However, doing this for almost 9 years, I have a very good understanding of what content works versus what doesn't, and what can perform well. I think video, everyone wants that instant gratification now more so than any other time in history, right? And I think if you look at like, for example, let's pick news as a topic, right? It used to be where news had to travel by horse, right? You put someone on a horse with a scroll and they have to, trot that horse for 2 days to go get a message across town, right? And then it became newspapers and shipping, and that became easier. And then now we have social media, right? It became social media and people could post photos. Well, it's evolving, right? So what is it now? I think it's video. It's quicker. It's harder hitting. You can capture more of what the purpose of someone saying something way more than you can in photo, right? Because photo is still a caption. You can't really understand someone's tone. You can't understand, you can't hear the person, right? It's like texting. First calling. I'm a big caller. I like to call people because you can hear their tone. You can hear when they're pausing. You can hear the silence. Whereas like if they text you a message, you have no idea. So I think video is the same way of like, one, it's an adaptation to how we consume things. And I think it's the analytics show it's way more effective than say consistently posting photos. And I think it's, I don't have a crystal ball, right? To say like video will outperform photo or this piece of content 100% of the time. Anyone that tells you they know, I wouldn't trust them, in my opinion, just from my experience. But I think the value in video, you can do so much more with it, right? In terms of like more bang for your buck. For example, this podcast, right? We can record for 20 minutes, we can record for 2 hours, doesn't really matter. But out of that, you're going to get one audio recording, whether it be 20 minutes or an hour, 2 hours, right? So that's one long form piece. Then you have video. So that's another long form piece if you record it video wise. Then you could break it up into small clips, right? 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. So 15, 20, 30 small clips, right? In an hour. So then you're up to like 35 pieces of content, right? And then you can take a thumbnail photo or photo that's more content. And then you have a script. You can AI a script, right? So then there's another long form piece you could put on a website or somewhere. So you literally have like 40 pieces of content you can capture within an hour. It's the most productive way of capturing content, I think, is one way is podcast. And people who aren't leveraging new ways of promoting themselves, media that's more efficient like video, because you could do so much more with it with breaking it down than you can photo. I think are just trailing behind.
What's the best way a new business person that's not currently using video can start to leverage video to get more leads, to get more brand exposure?
Call me. No. um, aside from aside from that, right? I think it's really easy. I think people overthink it. You know, I my setup obviously is very expensive and it's big and you have lights and an expensive camera and it's expensive. But it's not hard, right? Everyone has a phone. Um, you can do it. Um, and I think really simply by just posting anything to start will help. And then from there, you kind of evolve. You see what works, what people like, right? Whether it be you in front of the camera or behind a camera, or is it your products that you're selling and they like seeing just your products rather than your face? But I mean, you can simply start with your phone. It doesn't take a lot. It takes time. That's simply what it boils down to, is it takes time.
What do you see works? What are you getting good engagement with on your own, content? And
It's different with everyone. I do notice that people like to learn something. They want to be taught something. They want to be told something. So any information given to people, any informative content, people really like. Like going back to the crystal ball, there's been 2 times in my life that I have had an idea for a video and said, when I make this and post it, it's going to go viral. And it did. That 2 times in my entire life. Now, other videos I make and they do very well and I know they'll do well. But when I said viral, like hundreds of thousands of views, it's happened twice in my life. And I've called both times.
what was it about those videos that made you know that it was going to go viral?
One, the planning. So like really putting thought into it. And that's huge for, some video can be very spontaneous and you just toss it up and it's selfie mode and you're walking on a street and you're talking about something. But really just taking an extra few minutes to plan what you're going to possibly say or capture or do really has an impact on the quality of the content you're posting. Doesn't matter with what you're capturing it with, but the message in which you're delivering it changes if you take just that few extra seconds, minute, or whatever to plan it. So I'll give you an example. For one of my clients, we did a holiday video and they wanted a holiday video. And I said, let's dress someone up as an elf and recreate the Buddy the Elf scenes in New York City, but in Charleston. And they were a little hesitant at first and then they let me ride with it. And I've spent probably 2 weeks watching Elf, probably 3 extra times, wrote a script, wrote how we were going to execute everything. And I had some good thoughts about it. I was like, it's going to do well. And the first thing we did was dress up someone as Buddy the Elf and walk him across the Ravenel Bridge. And I parked under the bridge. I was flying the drone and he was walking over the bridge. And probably 10 minutes, I let him go, get out of the car, under the bridge. He walks up to the bridge and I'm under it. And all I hear is honking, 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 honking. And in that moment, I said, oh, this shit's going to go viral. I said, there's no doubt. And we finished the rest of the day and it went well. And sure enough, I posted it. And it was for the business. The business posted it. It was doing well. And then come Christmas morning, I think my girlfriend texted me or something. And I said, it's going. And it was just 1,000 views, like after. And I think by Christmas Day, we hit like 200,000 views on it the day of Christmas. And then it's still going, right? But I knew leading up to it that it had potential. And then once we started executing within the first 10 minutes, I said, this is going to do it. And it did. But what worked in that moment was the fact that people saw us actively filming in public, right? They saw us filming. They were honking on the streets. People were taking photos with the elf on the streets near the market. And that affirmed that, 1, people are interested in what we're doing. And 2, my whole thing was like, people are going to see this pop up on their For You page on like TikTok or Instagram and be like, and then engage with it instantly. Oh, I saw you on the street. I saw you here. Oh, we talked, right? And then I knew that was a way that was just going to drive the higher the engagement on a video, people commenting, sharing, liking. Likes really don't do it much. It's more shares per send and comments.
On all platforms or just Instagram?
Instagram's huge for shares per send, right? So like if I send you a video about an apple, right? Say a dancing apple, and I send it to you and you like it, and then you send it to someone else, right? Boom. Instagram eats that up. They love it because they're saying, well, he liked it, then it went to another person. This must be good because people are sending it around, right? So like that's huge, and I knew that that was going to happen on that video when people in the street started interacting. I said they're going to see it. It's going to pop up locally on their For You page, and they're going to interact. And sure enough, that's all. So many comments. We saw you. We took pictures with you, and that's what drove the video to do well. But I think it goes back. Creating community around content is huge, and being authentic too. Don't stray away from something that you don't believe in, but also like you got to try new stuff. Like I know people who they get so stuck in their ways, right? So whether they've been doing the same structure of posting on social media for 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, right? It's just, oh, we're just going to post photos. That's it. Maybe a video here and there. And you see them and that worked in the beginning, right? They have 13,000 followers, 20,000 followers. And then now they have that same amount of following, but they're getting 20 likes on a photo, 10 likes on a photo, 40 likes on a photo, and half of those are people that work in that company or like other affiliate pages within that company if you pay attention. It's not new people coming in. Video drives new people. New ways of posting, new content drives new people to your page. People that get stuck in posting the same structure for 3-4 years, you're doing yourself a major disservice, especially if you're paying someone to do it.
How do you keep up with those trends? Like, where do you get inspiration for new trends in marketing video content?
You do not want to see my screen time. It is horrendous. But I mean, again, it's part of my job, right? Just because I'm not posting on social media, I'm a huge consumer of it. So I like to diversify my content that I watch on any platform. Food, cooking, building, construction, tech stuff, you name it, sports. I like to consume everything because each industry almost kind of has its own way of doing content and stuff that works and trends. But just simply consuming and being, if you want to post, you have to consume and see what are other people doing and not copying it, but what do they say? If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
So hopping on trends that work. I mean, you see it with platforms like TikTok. Sounds go viral and people create videos to the sounds. Why? Because it already is proven that it works. So, yeah.
If you could recommend like one platform if you have to put all your eggs in one basket, where do you see the most potential for like doing a content strategy? For someone who, I guess there's different outcomes that you're desiring, but for someone who's looking for a monetary gain.
To get a monetary gain from a social platform immediately is very hard to do unless you have a built up following already, right? Like if you, Jack Moran, were famous from something else, right? Or I don't know, something, right? And you were a childhood actor and or on the Disney Channel and you had like 100,000 followers on your Instagram and you weren't making money. And then you go to YouTube and you're like, I'm doing a daily vlog. The chance of you getting money from the start is higher than the average person. But platform wise, I mean, it's hard. I would say like, dude, it's hard. Like anyone that thinks like they're just going to wake up and make money on social media, no.
So maybe not from a monetary gain,
Like-
but from a different outcome. What do you think is like what
The most
platform?
effective.
Yeah, and you can say what outcome, and maybe different platforms are better for different outcomes.
Yeah, it is. Like, right. So I love YouTube, but TikTok kills, man. The way they run their algorithms, the way people connect with it and engage with TikTok, I've never seen it in my life before. Instagram wishes they could be TikTok, and they're trying so hard, and they're killing their platform, in my opinion. Instagram is dog shit compared to TikTok.
What about it?
So like Instagram, for example, compresses everything you put at it. So like if you can't put out a 4K video, like which is we're in 2024, almost 2025. You can't post 4K, like high quality video if you're recording in it. And if you look at it, like Instagram tried leveraging, first it was photo, right? Then they did some video. They limited how long you could do videos, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and they made it longer now. TikTok had their page from the start. They knew what they were going to do, and their algorithm just kicks ass. TikTok tries to do the same thing with their reels, and it's just not there. It's not at the level that it is, right? Like I can scroll and I can talk about something. I can talk about Chinese food right now, right? Like I'm craving Chinese food, lo mein. I bet you I can go on TikTok, scroll for less than 5 minutes, and I will have 4 videos that are somehow relating to lo mein or Chinese food. and I don't care that they're listening.
I was going to say, some people might not like
Look,
that.
here's the deal. If you care that your phones are listening to you and giving you ads, get rid of your phone, because there is no way around it. And if you care that much about your privacy or something, what are you doing that you don't want people to know, right? Like, oh, China has my photo. Bro, I could go get your photo if I wanted to right now. It's not hard. I can go get your phone number and address. Like, information is so publicly readily available to anyone that wants it, that if you get caught up in like, oh, I don't want someone to have my fingerprint, or I don't want someone to have my face, I'm not gonna. No, come on. Like,
Yeah.
it's out there. It is out there. And honestly, I think it's like, and I took a lot of classes and did a lot of research of this in my communications classes in college, and this is my biggest interest of companies that leverage targeted ads, whether it be through cookies on websites or listening, or just using AI algorithms now. I'm for it, right? Like, it's ultimately, it's going to give me, it's going to know me, not better than I know myself, but kind of, but it's going to help my life in the long run, right? For example, I drink an espresso pod every morning for coffee, and I don't have auto shipment on for it because sometimes I'm like behind a month. I just don't want to stack up on space with pods, right? Well, it'll know and notify me once it thinks that I'm done my pods. And then I can say yes or no. Like, to me, that's a lot time saver. I don't have to go on, look for the thing again, hit order. It's a notification on my phone. And if I wake up one morning, I'm like, oh, I only have 2 pods left, I can simply hit just buy now, right? Like, it's time saver. So yeah, I think it's effective. I think TikTok is just, it's gold, man. It's there. Now, I think it's like hard because people see success from creators and influencers in the masses, that everyone wants a piece of it. So then people try, right? And it's difficult. I see it in my industry. I'll have a client come to me and say, we want to create a video. We want it to go viral, right? Instantly, that's what they want. We want it to go viral. I'll look at them and go, it's not going to happen. And I'm being honest, right? It's not going to happen, because you can't say that a video is going to instantly go viral and plan it to, and then it does, right? You have no following. You've never done videos before. The chances of it going viral are very slim. But yeah, I think TikTok, YouTube. I mean, man, I want to love Instagram, but it's just the way they suggest stuff. Like, I have my pages that I follow, and I'm very like, I don't follow the pages I don't want to follow. Like, I like sports, so I follow ESPN. I like cooking, so I follow like cooking food. But like, I don't follow stuff that I don't want to follow, right? Well, why is Instagram's consistently pushing stuff that I do not care to see in the slightest bit? And they could say, oh, well, we think you might be interested. I'm not interested. Don't show it to me. You're wasting my time. TikTok, 90% of what I watch, I'm interested in. And it's just, like, the more you watch TikTok and engage with videos, the more it understands you and pushes stuff that you're going to be engaging in or with. Sorry.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And I've kind of gotten off of TikTok because of that reason. I end up going into these rabbit holes.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. So my parents, they're early 50s, and it's like they have TikTok.
No,
They're sending me TikToks at like 10 p.m., 12 p.m. early in the morning.
Doesn't watch this.
And it's like, I would have never thought, and they both had no social media prior to TikTok. Wow. TikTok was the first platform they got. And I think it's crazy because like that's a platform that can literally be targeted to anyone of any age. Granted, now if you're a child, I don't believe that children should be on social media, but I mean, old, young, it is, and it knows you. It's cool.
Yeah. So I kind of came to you in the like, probably 6-8 months ago now, like with this vision for Shakin Hands, and we together kind of evolved like what it is today. What was it about this that you found to be interesting? And why have you sunk so much of your time into it and committed to it?
You.
Appreciate that.
Straight up. I don't like to do one, and I spoke about it earlier in the podcast, I don't like to do content that doesn't align with myself or values, especially when I know it's not just a one-off project, right? You come to me and say, I have an idea for a podcast and need help building it, running it, doing it, strategizing it. I know that is a long-term commitment. And on both of our ends, right? You obviously putting the energy and time and resources forth to do that long term, and then me committing to it as well. I'm a huge relationship guy. I love relationships. I love building relationships, keeping relationships. A lot of my clients, I try and, I will do one-off projects, but I prefer to do like retainer, multi-month long projects or year projects. And when you came to me with this idea, I had been in my business alone now by that time for like 6 months or so. And you told me your vision, and I was like, this is good. And what really caught my eye on it was, one, you said to me, I don't start something if I have no end in sight. You said something along those lines of like, I'm not just starting this to get 20 episodes in. I will keep this going forever. And in that moment I said, and I could tell you were serious. I was like, he's not fucking around. I was like, I will do it. I said, I will take on this project as a long-term investment, as a long-term goal, and I want to see this thing grow. And the more we did, and the more we've done, and the more we recorded, I mean, man, it's fun. And I look at it too as like, I don't read books really. I've never been one to like be able to sit down and just like hold a book and read a book and then consume knowledge that way. I'm a big YouTube watcher. So like not just like prank videos or anything. I really don't watch that stuff. It's more of like how-to videos, building videos, like construction videos, learning, knowledge-based videos. And I looked at producing this podcast as a way to consume knowledge, being behind the camera, as a way to consume knowledge from business, like almost a mentorship thing, right? Where I didn't need to read a book, but I'm getting free knowledge from people, other business people sitting in this chair where I am now, you and your experience. And dude, the stuff I've learned sitting behind that camera is wild.
Well, that's a really interesting perspective, and we've never really talked about that, and very flattered in those things that you said. And I can say, like, vice versa, I really appreciate everything that you have done, the time and the commitment. And I talk about on this podcast how you don't want to be transactional and how, prioritizing the relationship. I have felt those ideals from the very beginning. And I think that's a testament to anyone who, is considering working with you in the future. The amount of like operational care that you have put into this podcast, and really not just showing up and doing the video, but like really contributing passionately to its success, speaks, numbers about who you are as a person. So
I appreciate it. I do this podcast and like I say, there's no end in sight. We're on episode 34, 35, something like that now. I think back, I remember this so clearly. We went out to California and we filmed or LA, and we filmed our first like 6 episodes.
we probably met for like 10 minutes before that, right?
Yeah, I think it was over a phone call, and you were like, "You want to come to California with me?" I was like, "This guy's never met me before. Just fly me out to California." I was like, "Let's go." And and I remember, we were telling each other, and we were telling everyone, if we can get past 24 episodes,
Yeah.
we're in like the 0.00001% of podcasts that have gone that long. And like, it's crazy. We're past that. I think people have interest in doing podcasts all the time, and I think it's awesome, right? People love to talk about themselves, talk about what they're doing. And I think it's cool because like, are you going to get rich off a podcast? Probably not, right? And that's not the purpose of your podcast. And you made that very clear from the start that this is not a moneymaker for me. This is not what I want to like. I don't want to get rich from this. I want to convey a message to people, spread the word, spread knowledge. And that was something that I just was like, yes, I can stand behind that. I don't like watching videos and then they're like, so buy this course from me, or we're not selling anything here. We're giving knowledge to people. We're sharing stories to people. We are, spreading the fact of like, if you have an interest or a passion that you can achieve more than just sitting behind a desk at a 9 to 5, being brought down by working for someone else or, stipulations. It's like you said, get out of the rat race, right? It's like, I did that I was never in like a corporate job, but I was limited of what I was able to do creatively in the previous job that I was in, and being controlled, that I didn't like it. I was happy I was given the opportunity to get out and flourish like I am now. And it just resonated with me. I was like, dude, let's go. Let's roll. So it's been fun. I appreciate the opportunity of producing the podcast with you. And I'm excited to see what
what unfolds.
what happens.
Yeah, we got a long way to go, but I think like, yeah, the biggest goal is to just kind of build a community of people. So people who haven't made the leap yet and aren't chasing their dreams yet. And I talk about this a lot. Like, it's not just about entrepreneurship and building your own business. It's about like doing what you want to do because you only get one life and like living it to your fullest potential and being passionate about what you do every single day. So if we
100%.
can like just engage the types of people that are interested in that type of lifestyle and build a community that fosters those relationships and that support. I think the end goal is to have a positive impact on the world. Maybe that's only a small little effect, not to be egotistical and think that we can change the world, but I think it's those little, that small community can have a tenfold ripple effect on the rest of humanity. So
100%.
maybe that's a huge lofty goal, but
No, I don't think so. I know some people who have approached me who have listened to the podcast and they're like, you influenced something in my life, the way I think about something, a career choice, right? I think, shout out to my girlfriend who's behind the camera right now, but she started listening to it and she helps with the social media and does the social media end of the podcast. And she said, some of the stuff she listens to every episode. And she made a career change. Now, do I know if it's fully because of this podcast? I think it had a lot of play into it and she's going like this with her hand.
Yeah.
But I think, it just opens people's eyes to the potential that we as human beings have,
yeah,
right? Anything is possible. And I've always been a thinker of this, and you can let me know if you agree, but people who think negatively consistently in their life don't care to find a solution to better themselves, better people around them, better anything. But if you think positive on any aspect, right, anything can be achieved, I think. Anything can be, like people who say, oh, I can't fix that. Why? Go watch a how-to video. Go figure it out. Try it. Figure it out. Why are you instantly giving up without trying, right? I think anything is possible. And people, I believe and I'm a firm believer, and I like to be good at a lot of things, not great at one thing. And I think that that's made me a better person. My dad taught me that. My parents instilled a great work ethic in me. A lot of people aren't, I don't know, they're not gifted with great work ethics. And it shows, right? And no, I'm not calling anyone out. And some of my close peers in my life and people that I know, they don't have a great work ethic. And they kind of are okay with doing the bare minimum. And by any means, there's nothing wrong with that in life, right? If you just want to show up to your 9 to 5, do the bare minimum in life, that's fine. That's your life. I'm not going to obviously tell you you're doing it wrong, but I think I look at people as having more potential than they show, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think everyone has the potential to do greater things in life. And people who say, they're held back by circumstances in their early life or in parts of their life, and they'll sure that, I can't be successful because this happened to me in my life or this. I understand that and I have compassion and I can understand that. But that was in the past.
Yeah.
Look forward. So don't worry about that, right? Just push it under the rug, find a way to move past that and move on, right? If you're relishing in the past, you got a lot of catching up to do.
100%. Yeah, and it fires me up that we're having like some like little impact on decisions. And I think like, a big reason why this podcast came to be is I have realized this new way of living and the joy that has brought me and the control that it's brought me in my life. And so I often go out and I'm like, you should do this to people when I see potential in them and they're not realizing their full potential. But a lot of times that comes off as patronizing. Like it makes you seem like you think you're better than them, like, which is really not my goal. I
care about them.
Yeah, I care about
Sure.
them. But that's not how it comes off. That's not how people typically receive it.
Right.
So I thought that this podcast would be a good way, instead of me telling people, was to compile these stories of people who are doing the same things, to have so much evidence layered that this is a better path for people, that, someone, if we can just get one person to make the leap, like it's success.
You see it in the reoccurring themes of all the guests that we've had on, that everyone says the same thing over and over and over again. And I think, you were talking about this earlier in the before we started the podcast, of like, you want to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And sometimes that's hard to come by depending on what you do in your own life. And I think it's interesting, like we have a majority of the people we've had on are self-starter entrepreneurs or in the field of that, and like similarly like-minded individuals, and they share the same thoughts, right? Whether it be about life, business, wellness, health, whatever it be, a lot of reoccurring themes. And it's cool to see because you're like, all right, well, I'm not the only one that thinks that. So it's just cool to see the reoccurring themes, and it's proof that, it's more than just you has the same thought process or
Yeah.
outlook.
And I'm seeing that we are starting to like build that community. And like, it's funny, Jose told me, who we had on the podcast before, he was like, dude, you're doing all this work to get these people on the podcast. He's like, you got to continue engaging them. Like you should be sending, like having a newsletter, like sending, all the new podcasts to the previous guests. And like, you are building a community and you have to continue like engaging them and having them engage with the podcast. Why do all that work and then just let them go? So
No, that's true. I didn't even think of that.
yeah,
And
me
that's why
neither.
he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And that is true. Maybe we should start a podcast.
Another thought we're brainstorming on the
Yeah,
show.
we are. No.
But yeah, obviously that's not the point. The point is highlighting you, Sam. So
Oh no, no.
what are your goals for SRW Digital? Where do you want to see yourself? Where do you want to see the business here over the next couple of years?
Growth in any capacity. I want to, one, obviously grow my client base. Maybe do some projects further outside of Charleston. I don't know. I love Charleston. I don't see myself moving. But I really like relationships. So finding clients that I can maintain a long-standing relationship with, and I have a few already, but more of those rather than just one-off projects every day, I think can help grow. I'd like to build a team, a steady team. I have some, I do video, photo, drone work stuff, podcast production, but I really want to take it to a next level where it's, whether it be an office space where it's just like a content factory. People like if I bring a new client on, their questions are always price and time. And I kind of want to create a community, not a community, but a place where people could come to me and it's not just me doing everything, right? Creating a team. But I can rely on other people. And some people have shown interest in like kind of a creative network. Here in Charleston, you have co-working spaces, but I think people don't like co-working spaces. One, because it's all these other people around them, right? You could have a lawyer mixed with a painter. But if you create an environment where you can put a bunch of creative and like-minded individuals together and like under one roof, then like everyone can flourish and like feed off of each other, right? So like that's kind of what I want to do, is like maybe open up a space while maintaining my business, right? But put my business in it, but create a space where it's just like just creatives, and just feeding off of each other. Just like,
Great idea.
yeah, that's kind of what I want to do.
And obviously you hear it every time. This is the magic question. What is your definition of success?
Oh man, I knew this was coming. I would be lying if I didn't say it was some monetary money, right? Like I think everyone wants money in some way, but that's not all of it for me at all. I just need money to live. I don't need fancy cars, Ferraris. Like that doesn't do it for me. I want money to be able to just like do what I want in my life, have my business. I enjoy food. I love food. So just like being able to like, go out to dinner and enjoy time with friends over a meal. So like that to me is success. And it doesn't have to be a 5-star meal. Just like going out and treating my friends to dinner, like that's success. But then also like creating an environment where like I can see other people being successful is successful for me, I think. Like I love to see when my friends are doing good, cool shit. To me, I'm like, and if I had an influence on that or some aspect, or I recommended something, I'm like, hell yeah, like I'm happy for them. And I think like, yeah, I mean, it's not really monetary. It's just like seeing others do well. There's a test, and I can't remember the test. It's like what do they say, your love language or something. And it's something like I don't even remember, but I think I've taken a test before of some form, and it shows that acts of service is huge for me. I like to serve other people.
Yeah, that's a love language.
Is that?
Yeah.
So I like to serve other people, whether it be
That's how you give love.
yeah, whether it be through like fixing something for someone or doing a favor or something. I just like doing that. To me, that's success, is being able to do that, right? So like if someone's like, hey, can you do a video for me? But I don't have a lot of money, right? Like I'm in a tough spot. For me to be able to say yes to that without even thinking, that would be success.
Right. To
Right.
be in a financial position where you can do that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
help others without needing the money or funds, right? Like pro bono stuff. I do some work for a charity down here in Charleston, and I do it pro bono, and I don't charge them, right? And I love it. The satisfaction and gratitude that I get from it, and they don't always say thank you, and it is what it is, and that's fine. But I just love doing it and not charging them for it because it's a charity, and should I charge them? I could, but I don't. I believe in the charity. I believe in the work they're doing, and that's success. Is being able for me to be like, lend a helping hand or lend a hand or assistance for someone else and not want anything in return from the start.
Yeah, it's again another testament to your character. If more people thought like that, I think that
Well, I think, I have a question for you to turn it back onto you. You mentioned in multiple episodes that you are sober. You don't drink. You're sober, and I commend you on that. I know a lot of people that do that, and I'm not a big drinker partier myself, and I think I used to be in college. Obviously, I was
likewise.
sometimes a little shit, and I've caused problems that, looking back on it, I regret. And my life turned around. I turned my life around and started taking things seriously, and I noticed my life change, right? But I'm not sober. I do drink occasionally. Not drinking and surrounding yourself with people who do drink, right? Obviously, that's going to happen. Where, do you ever kind of like think what other people are thinking? Like, especially like, or are you just like so focused on the positives that it's doing for you that just, you don't even see or care what anyone else thinks?
Yeah. No, it doesn't really affect me in that way,
Yeah.
like caring what they think. A lot of times it actually is like a positive, like it's like a, positive attribute that people kind of like are, people like,
Yeah.
it's like a bonus in conversation or whatever. Still, I like, it can be kind of awkward and uncomfortable. And like when people ask about it and you start talking about it, it can come off as like, again, like patronizing. So I don't like to like, even when I'm out, I'll drink like a soda water with a lime so it looks like I'm drinking
Sure.
just avoid the conversation. But for me, like people think like I stopped drinking for some like sobriety, like AA type like methodology. Like really, I selfishly have become so addicted to the power of my mind without it. That's why I keep going with it. Like it's unhealthy. Like when I stopped drinking, I had this conviction and this intuition that these things within my life were preventing me from getting towards my goals.
Sure.
So when I eliminated those things, like I started seeing that success, a lot more success. And I think that everyone has those things within their life. There are people that drinking does not affect them in any way. I tend to think like it will bias you in the wrong direction. The more that you let it into your life, the more negative effect it will have. But I think that everyone has these things that like they know deep down inside are like anchoring them down from their goals or anchoring them away from their goals. And the bigger those anchors are, the harder it's going to be to eliminate. But if you can find a way to eliminate those things, the grass is going to be a lot greener on the other side. So that was like my first big decision, big vice that I eliminated that had like huge ripple effect on my life and put me on the path that I want to be on. Now, there are still things, that deep down inside I know that I have to get rid of. But we can't be perfect. So
What do you think is the biggest issue with society in today's day right now?
with society,
People. Us as people.
well, I think that there is like
In general, like what do you think is our biggest issue? And you can relate it to business or entrepreneurship, sales, whatever you want. But I'm just curious what you think.
I think that there's like a lot of envy, but I think it's like a negative energy. I feel like the masses are like doing things that aren't good for them.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that there's like that positive influence, like maybe it's only 1% has a ripple effect on the rest of that 99%. But like things like drinking, like the more people I talk to, the more people are like every person that I talk to that I say I'm not drinking, they're like, I wish I could do that. So I'm like, why aren't you doing it? And I know why it is. It's because of the social acceptance. It's like there's so many other people doing it, and I feel like I'm going to become an outcast by not doing it. It's like, no, but all those people are thinking the same thing too.
That's why I asked you that question.
Yeah. So I think that that's the problem with society is people living. If I could summarize this, it's people living through other people's eyes. Like the more that you can be authentic to how you feel deep down inside, that is the most like, that's how you become a leader. And that's when you start having a positive effect on people. Cause I feel like deep down inside, everyone is led by that positivity.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's religious or something, but.
Somewhat. No, it goes back to my point of like, just the comparison thing, right? Like, I think it takes more energy out of people to be negative and like hurtful towards people than it is to be just kind, compassionate, and level, right? Like nice. I think it takes, at least for me, like if I'm not mean, don't try to be mean to people, or I'm not confrontational, but like if I ever had to be, it takes so much energy out of me to be negative and to be confrontational, be upset with someone versus like just sometimes biting my tongue and moving on or moving past it. It's so much easier. Like I think
it's
like,
counterproductive and it's almost irrational, which is why it's interesting to me that so many people like
choose
are
that, right?
perpetuating those ideals.
Like I deal with a lot of people, in my friend group or my friends, my life, whatever, people I encounter that are my age, that they complain and complain about whether it be their job, a relationship they're in, something they're doing, they were dealt a bad hand, they have to pay this bill, something, doesn't matter. And I'm just like, dude, like, come, like, figure it out. Like, you're an adult, like, figure it out. Like, we were kids, we didn't have to figure stuff out. Like, things could be bad, and it was okay if it was bad, right? But like, as adults, like, just like figure your shit out.
Yeah.
Like, don't come to me with your problems. I don't need that negativity in my life, because ultimately if all I do is listen and consume negativity, then that's how I'm gonna think. That's mine. Like, I'm gonna live my life negatively, and I don't need that in my life. Like, sure, am I gonna be compassionate if a friend of mine came to me and said, hey man, look, like, I hate my job, I'm not meeting its quota and I'm not making a lot of sales, I'm struggling financially. I'm gonna hear him out. I'm gonna be compassionate. I'm like, say, all right, well, how can I help, right? I'm compassionate that way. And you can come to me with that issue, but like, but then go figure it out, right? Like, let's figure out a solution and then act upon it. Don't be like, yeah, I should do that, and then never act upon it. And I think that's common for a lot of people. It's like, just, yeah, not perpetuating hate, but in a way, right?
And maybe it's like, maybe I'm a conspiracist, but it almost feels like there's like a systematic, way of keeping people and making people externalize the blame. And when you externalize that blame, you really don't have control, and it pushes you deeper and deeper and deeper into that pit. So I would say to like break away from that system that the masses are participating in. One of the best piece of advice I ever got from a mentor was, if you want to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah.
So you got to like break away from that system and like start taking the accountability like internally. And then when you start taking that internal accountability, you have more control over the external. But if you are like becoming a victim of the external, you have zero control. You're at the will of that external.
100%. I don't know. It's
getting deep here.
I think people are
Shakin Hands podcast.
What? Oh, what time is it?
So our temp camera woman today has a meeting to go to. So I will wrap it up by asking two more questions. What is the biggest piece of advice that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started down this journey?
Don't care what others think.
Don't care what others think.
Yeah. Just do my own thing. Do what I want to do. If people aren't happy with how I'm doing it, that's their problem, not mine. Just comparison is a death tool. I can't compare myself to other people's videos or what they're doing or their content or what works for them, or their money they have. It's live my life and don't live someone else's life.
Great advice. And if people want to reach out to you, are interested in your services, just want to connect, where can they find you?
Yeah. You can go to my website, srwdigital.com. Same name on Instagram. Same name on TikTok. You can email me at sam@srwdigital.com. If you have any questions about content, anything, feel free to reach out. I will always hit you back. And yeah, that's it, dude. This was awesome.
Yeah.
First time in front of a camera, and that was easy.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you coming on and, making this podcast grow and move forward.
Yeah, I want to do this again.
Hell yeah, we will.
Awesome.
All right.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
Cool.
Thank you.